Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to the New Bern Redevelopment Commission meeting. Again, thank you for all you do for the community. We're glad to have you here. We're glad that we have a public process. And so, again, thank you so much for coming, and welcome to those who have not been here before. Thank you so much. Vice Chair Peregoy, could we have our roll call?
Sure. Chairman Lee.
Here.
Vice Chair Peregoy is here. Commissioner Walker.
Here.
Commissioner Strickland.
Here.
Commissioner Wallace. Commissioner Parham.
Here.
Commissioner Bryant.
Here.
Commissioner Proctor.
Here.
Commissioner Morgan. You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Item 3 on our agenda tonight is approve the agenda. We need to make a change in the agenda. If you will look under item 13, under the working group's report, we need to add on a report with Alderman Hazel Royal is going to talk to us about the hub there on Garden Street, but I need a motion to approve that change. Am I correct, Attorney Mosley?
That's the best practice, yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Thank you so much. Alderman Royal, that would be after Mr. Wallace, Commissioner Wallace.
And that would be Antoinette that will make the...
Antoinette Vosky. Okay, thank you. All right, item 4 is our guidelines. If we could start with Commissioner Walker. If you have to stand, that's okay.
Okay, I think I can see it. Our first guiding principle is past, present, and future equal time.
Respect others' opinions.
Listen to build consensus.
Share accurate information, public perception.
Stay focused, be action-oriented.
Believe.
She said believe, but I believe too.
Okay. Thank you so much. Item 5 on our agenda tonight is public comment, and I'm just reminding us that public comment is limited to 4 minutes. Do we have any public comment tonight? Did anyone sign in? Okay, thank you. Our first public comment would come from Mr. Bo Dorsey. Am I saying that correct? Yes. All right. Hello there.
Good evening. Got 3 things that I would ask to address. There's when the house was moved from Gaston, I don't remember the other name of the street, there were some poles taken down when they brought it across, some divider poles, right by the basketball courts.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been about a year since the house has been moved, and they're still laying there on the ground. Is there any plan to put those back up? Essentially, the fence was taken down and not put back up. Next thing is, about a year ago, when I first started coming to these, we started talking about trash around the neighborhood. Still an issue with trash. I have not seen any kind of improvement with trash. I made a suggestion probably 6-7 months ago about getting trash cans removed. I've seen many storms come through, trash gets blown over, and it's still all over the neighborhood. Trash cans are left out all week long.
Okay.
I know there's some neighborhoods that you can't do that. I think it would be a good idea to, put some kind of enforcement to get your trash cans taken back in, because they shouldn't be there. That shouldn't be the permanent place to be stored on the street. And the last thing is there's a house at 708 West A Street. It's a city-owned property. It's by the railroad tracks where A Street and Bern Street intersect. About Christmas 2021, somebody came and removed the roof from the building. It's a metal roof. It was right after the house next door to it was torn down. My girlfriend and I just thought that city was on the roll and tearing down another house. Apparently it was somebody stealing the roof to scrap it or whatever they did with it. So the house is boarded up, has no roof, and it's just an eyesore to the neighborhood.
Okay.
We're seeing if the redevelopment commission had any plans with that house. Because it's beyond repair.
Okay.
So, that's all.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Dorsey. You're sure it's 708 West A Street? Okay. Okay, all right. I just want to make sure. Okay.
And the one that was at 716 A Street was torn down December of 2021, I think.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
my question, he's got 3 points. My question is, wouldn't his questions and concern go directly to his alderman?
Or public works. We'll have Patricia talk to Mr. Holmes
Okay.
about those. We'll take it from there. Yes.
I mean, that would be a more direct route if you went to
Which-
Public Works or went to your alderman.
Which question?
All 3.
Well, it's all in the redevelopment commission area.
But that's a public works department, and so it's either Mr. Holmes, which does minimum housing, or public works. And then they can also send it to the alderman as well for that
Well,
board.
the trash issue was discussed probably 6 to 8 months ago, and that's why I
Yes.
brought that up.
Yes, sir.
And then the poles that were taken down / fence
Mm-hmm.
is the house that was moved from Gaston to wherever it's sitting now.
Mm-hmm.
And the poles were taken down for the house to be moved, but they're
Yes.
still on the ground.
Yes. We will pass the information on
Okay,
to the proper place.
okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dorsey, and thank you all for moving and investing in the area. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Our next would be Miss Ruth. There's a 4-minute limit. Thank you, Miss Ruth. Good to see you this evening.
Hi there. Nice to see everybody. I just want to say I really appreciate what a great job the Redevelopment Commission does with all of your very ambitious goals. If I were going to be on a commission, if I lived in New Bern, I would want to be on this one. Anyway, and my concerns really do affect Public Works, but I just kind of wanted to make you aware of them. When I go pick up litter in mostly vacant, overgrown lots, there's no trash cans there. You know, like right down here on this intersection, there's 3 public waste cans. Driving in this morning, or this afternoon, coming into downtown, I see like 3 waste cans on one intersection. You know, Duffyfield doesn't have that at any intersections. I've heard there's a total of 12 waste cans in all of Duffyfield. I know where 10 of them are. I can probably find the other 2. But I've picked out like 12 vacant lots where litter accumulates that I would like to see waste cans. And I am going to talk to George Childs about it. You know, from what I've read, if you have a waste can, it makes it sort of fun to use, like if we had backboards on them, that people could throw something and maybe make a goal and get it in the trash can. Maybe that would be a good idea if that didn't cost too much. Because I know there's expensive ones that you can put stuff in and they light up, but we're not going to go for those expensive ones. And then the other issue I just wanted to make people aware of, and Robbie Morgan and I have talked about this briefly, is just the situation of households that cannot put all their trash in their trash receptacle. You know, I live in Trent Woods, and we provide our own trash cans and buy stickers. In New Bern, how does that work? Do people buy stickers, or does the city just pick it up? I don't know. But, you know, some of the households that Robbie and I talked about, you know, people fill up their trash cans and then they add trash to the recycling. So that doesn't get picked up. It just sits on top of all the recycling because, you know, the monthly recycling isn't going to pick up trash in the recycling thing. So if there's a way we could give households more, but I'll talk to George Childs or Public Works because I guess that's them too. But I just kind of wanted y'all to know, and that the areas where I have picked up trash in Duffyfield, I do see less litter there when I go back. I mean, much less. And, you know, that, again, is something that I've read about. If there's not litter there, people are not as likely to litter. If they see a big vacant lot full of stuff, it's like, what's one more, you know, pop can or wrapper? So, just a shout out, this is not really redevelopment, but it's, you know, Public Works has been very responsive when Alderman Best and I both emailed about cleaning up part of the Duffyfield Canal. They were there the next day with big trucks
good.
and several men, and they got it all cleaned out, and it has stayed cleaned out. I was by there this weekend, and it still looks really, really good. So anyway, I just appreciate all that you do, and if there's anything I can do in my little, It's Simple, Don't Litter campaign, I haven't heard from the aldermen or the county commissioners that they have any plans to do an anti-litter campaign like Pitt County, but
Yeah.
there's still hope, so maybe they will.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Ms. Ruth. We will pass your concerns on. Thank you.
Anybody wants a t-shirt, I have them.
Our next comment is Mr. George. Mr. George, I see that you are, your issue, your concern is Mr. Frey's support, so would you
Support for
prefer
his
to talk during his presentation?
Well, I'll either talk during his presentation or next, but I just wanted to thank the board for putting it on the agenda finally for his second presentation, and I hope that the board, after his presentation tonight, will do it timely, maybe by the next meeting, come up with a decision so we can finalize what the matter is going to close out as. Hopefully it will be in his favor, but, it's been a long time. He did this in November, and here we are in March, so this is the second time around. We'd like to see if we can get some decision made.
Okay, all
Thanks.
right, thank you. That is it for our public comment tonight. Moving on to item 6, approval of the minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve, January the 11th and February 8th. If we could take those separately, that would be much better. So going with the approval of January 11th, 2023, do we have any corrections, additions, or deletions? If not, if we could get a motion for
So
them.
moved. For January.
Was there a second? Okay, thank you. Questions, discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Thank you. Minutes of February 8th. Additions, corrections, deletions? If not, if we could get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. Questions, discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 7 tonight, discussion of statutory powers and limitations of the Redevelopment Commission, and that would be Attorney Mosley tonight. Thank you so much for all your help.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the commission. There's been great conversation over the last several weeks and months about what is a redevelopment commission? What can we do? What are our limits? What are our constraints? And in reflecting on many of those comments and questions, I authored a memo that is included in your packet tonight, as well as a chart that I think will help guide this discussion this evening and also be a resource to you going forward. But before we delve into those documents, I want you to understand that redevelopment commissions are a creature of statute, meaning redevelopment commissions were created by our legislature and exist within the confines as they're described in the North Carolina General Statutes, specifically Chapter 160A. And your commission, the commission that you sit on currently, is not the first redevelopment commission in the City of New Bern's history. In the 1970s, there was a redevelopment commission tasked with redeveloping what we know now as the waterfront. I've been advised that in yesteryear, much of the waterfront where the Doubletree and much of that waterfront is located were hundreds of individually, privately owned lots. Mm-hmm. And the Redevelopment Commission at that time acquired all of those lots and repackaged them for development in the future. Fast forward 50 years, and we see the waterfront that we have today. And I think that example is a good illustration of what I believe the legislature intended redevelopment commissions to do. That is to acquire property, repackage it, and make it suitable for types of development. Doesn't necessarily have to be hotels, but types of development that are consistent with the goals and the objectives of that particular community. So that brings us to, well, what can redevelopment commissions do? And you'll see a chart on your screen if you don't happen to have the paper document with you. And I have gone through your redevelopment plan that was adopted in 2018-19, and I have highlighted for you some of the powers that have been bestowed upon you by the General Assembly that are consistent with your plan. Understanding that if you go to Chapter 160A, you'll see more powers listed, but they're not germane necessarily to what you all have indicated that you want to do. So number one on this list is you have the power to purchase property. You can offer, you can have money, you can exchange money to get title to property within the redevelopment area. You can hold that property and you can then reconvey it if you so choose. You can clear land, you can develop land, you can do surveys, you can get appraisals. All of those types of activities, which we see as consistent with development, are squarely within the authority that you have. You can make plans for voluntary repair or rehabilitation programs, such as the CDBG program. As you know, you're a subrecipient, and you use CDBG funds to rehabilitate the house on Eubank Street. So that power is on the list there. And if you look at the right-hand column, you'll see statutory authority. Don't take my word for it. You can go to that statutory reference, and you can read the statute for yourself to see and confirm that the General Assembly has, in fact, bestowed that power upon you. You can enter into contracts related to development, specifically construction, demolition, and moving structures. You can make resolutions. Often in your packet, you see documents captioned resolution. You have that power. Make expenditures. You've been doing a lot of that recently. You have that power. You can make recommendations to the Board of Aldermen, and that's important. One thing that I think can be frustrating about the Redevelopment Commission is that your powers are not infinite. There's some things that the legislature just did not give you the authority to do that maybe the governing board has the power to do. And perhaps that's the reason why you have 3 liaisons from the governing board on this commission to facilitate dialogue between the governing board and yourselves. But you can certainly, if there's something that's outside of your purview that you think the government needs to do, you can make recommendations to the governing board to take specific action or not. You can sell property. Okay, so we talked about your ability to buy. Now let's talk about your ability to sell. What you can do that the Board of Aldermen cannot is you can put conditions on the sale of property. Okay, and if I'm beating a dead horse, for the members who've been on for some time, please forgive me. But for our new members, I think that going through line by line, not to insult your intelligence, I know you can read, but hopefully with my context, that will be illuminating for you. But I want to spend just a few moments to talk about selling property with or without conditions, is because that's unique. Most local government bodies cannot do that, but that's the special tool that the General Assembly has given to you. And there are a couple of ways that you can sell property. Advertisement for sealed bid. Upset bid processes, which is the one that you're most familiar with, where somebody makes an offer and you say, all right, we're going to sell the property to the highest bidder, whoever that happens to be. Public auction, which is something that generally in this particular municipality we don't do a lot of. You see it at the courthouse where people are out at the courthouse steps. That type of process, which is completely separate and apart from the upset bid process. Let's not commingle those. You can exchange property, which this commission has done in the past, for property of equal or lesser value, or equal or more value. And private sale. If you identify an entity carrying out a public purpose, you can sell property to, you can convey property to that nonprofit entity with conditions or without consideration. So for example, if XYZ nonprofit, if you want to convey property to them, you can give it to them. Whereas we can't give property generally to private citizens in the same way. Now, the next item on your list, let's spend just a few moments on. You can temporarily rent or lease property in connection with an ongoing redevelopment project. What does that mean? There's been lots of conversation where, Ms. Mosley, you said we can't rent. Now you're telling us we can. What does this mean? In consultation with the School of Government, and there's no case law on this particular statute, this is our best thinking, that the legislature contemplated that in your redevelopment, there may be times where structures are being rehabilitated. And sometimes, in order to rehabilitate a structure, someone may be temporarily displaced. In that scenario, the Redevelopment Commission, if it owns housing stock, could lease on a temporary basis to that person or persons who have been displaced pursuant to an ongoing rehabilitation project. That's the only context that Tyler Mulligan or I could come up with where that statute would be applicable. And it's narrow, okay? Well, why, Ms. Mosley, are you interpreting the statute this way? The General Assembly specifically enumerated the powers by which you could convey property using those numbers that you see, 168, 268, 269, 70, 71. They skipped several code sections. Those sections that they skipped are the ability to lease property for land and lease property generally. So by exclusion, that's how we arrive at that interpretation, okay? So you have the ability in that very, very narrow context. Outside of that context, it would be difficult for me to put my finger on specific statutory authority. But you have other tools. You have the power of eminent domain. In your redevelopment plan, I think there's a statement that says that that is to be used in rare circumstances, if at all, as a tool of last resort, but that is a tool that the General Assembly has given you. And lastly, you have the ability to change the redevelopment plan. If you scrutinize your plan and see a need to make an amendment, the General Assembly has given you the power to make those changes. Also on this tool I've given you is Dillon's rule, which says public bodies can only exercise the powers that they've been expressly granted by statute. If it's not in the statute, you don't have that power. That's not to say it can't be done. It may be that you are a conduit to some other entity to accomplish that mission, but you are constrained to the tools that have been set forth in the statute. So I'm hopeful that going forward, as you're thinking about what actions you may take or what projects you may undertake or how you may undertake those projects, that you can use this chart and you can check things off. If we're thinking about a particular action, does that fall on this list? Okay, we can do it. If it doesn't fall on this list, then perhaps we need to consider the best way for us to be a conduit to accomplish that aim. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions from the commission? Mr. Morgan, Mr. Strickland, Commissioner Parker, Commissioner Peregoy, Vice Chair. Mr. Parham?
No.
Mr. Bryant?
No. No.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh, there she is. Alderman Prill, do you have any questions for Attorney Mosley? No, sir. Alderman Prill, do you have any questions for Attorney Mosley?
The question that I have, and it's coming up, I believe, for discussion, or at least a presentation by Mr. Frey, is with regards to the two lots that Mr. Frey is interested in, and which the commission was working on a different concept for those lots. I'm surprised that there is not a discussion on the part of the commission as to what plans you have moving forward for those two lots. Is that discussion happening? Is the housing committee looking at that issue? The concept has changed because the commission wanted to rent the proposed structures that were going to go on those lots.
We
And
will be-
based upon the information that you've received from the attorney, you're not able to do that. So I'm just curious as to what plans does the commission have now for those lots?
That information will be coming through the Housing Working Group this evening. Just some preliminary thoughts on it, but the Housing Group has met, and we were waiting on actually this memo and statutes and things like that. But yes, you will be hearing more about it at that time. Because I want Mr. Frey to make his presentation. And it's really not really a whole lot to tell, Vice Chair. It's not a whole lot to.
No, I mean, we're continuing to work on our plan. The change has been from developing those 3 lots from rental property based on what we know into developing homes for sale to low income and moderate income families.
So, I mean, is the housing subcommittee working on that right now?
Yes,
or-
sir. At our presentation work group, I have copies of the survey work we've already done, subdividing that property into lots and things of that nature. Yes, sir.
Okay. I was just curious. I was just surprised that there was no discussion happening this evening with regards to that. But if the housing subcommittee is working on it, when would you anticipate that is coming back to the full commission?
I would expect at the next meeting,
Okay.
the very definitive plans. Like I say, we have the survey work done now on the land. I'll take personal responsibility. I've been out of the country for the last 3 weeks, and so not a lot has occurred from that perspective, but we have to change. Like you say, we're changing direction, so we have to develop a new budget. You requested a more detailed, a different budget, and we want to acknowledge the change in our direction within that budgeting process. And we're also changing the house plans that we had originally proposed to do from rental property to for sale properties. And so that the houses that we will be building will be different also. So we need to look at them and include those changes in our budget presentation.
And just out of curiosity, are there 2 lots or 3 lots over there?
There'll be 3.
There will be 3.
Yes.
Right now, there's 2?
Right now,
So there'll
there's
be a
2.
subdivision that'll have to take place to
Well,
generate
the
a
process
lot?
is we'll take those 2 lots and combine them into one, and then we'll take that one that we create and subdivide it into 3.
Okay. And
That's
will
the
that-
process that we have to go
Okay.
through.
And that'll go before the planning commission?
No, it's an administrative process.
Does the commission have the authority to do a subdivision?
Our code of ordinances allows for minor subdivisions that meet certain criteria, and if the commission's proposal meets those criteria, then the staff administrator, the zoning administrator can sign off on that subdivision.
Okay.
As I've mentioned before, we've done all this work preliminarily with development services and everything to make sure that we're following proper protocol and things of that nature. So it's all been tested through the system.
Okay. And I appreciate the information. I think given what happened previously with regards to these lots, which I think everybody needs to be concerned about, that going through this a second time, that there needs to be a full discussion amongst all commission members so that everybody understands exactly what is happening with regards to those lots. The public, especially Mr. Frey, will be able to understand what the new concept is, whether or not it ultimately gets approved, that's down the road. And again, as an ex officio member, it was very confusing to me previously, so I'd like to see that change moving forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alderman Greer. Alderman Best, any questions regarding the statutory powers and limitations?
Not at this time, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Alderman Roll.
Thank you. I want to ditto what Alderman Prill said about disclosure and having a complete understanding of the process. And so I look forward to the report from the Housing Working Group. In addition to that, can we briefly give a little bit more insight on the eminent domain?
Sure. Eminent domain is essentially a condemnation power where a government body can take person or privately held property without the owner's consent. It is something that is offensive to a lot of people for good reason, and the General Assembly gives that power for the government to be able to take property for public purposes. So, for example, sometimes you see that power used in highway projects, where highways are being expanded and land needs to be utilized to support that project. Other forms of public infrastructure. So sometimes public bodies will condemn portions of right-of-way for easements and various different types of construction projects that benefit our larger community. Again, that is a power to be used sparingly, if at all, but that's a tool that's in the tool belt.
So what would be an example, if you can think off the top of your head, that the Redevelopment Commission would exercise eminent domain?
I'd want to reflect upon that. The use of eminent domain would have to be consistent with the redevelopment plan, and without refreshing myself on every single one of those goals, I'm hard pressed in this moment to be able to give an example.
Thank you. If you could come back with it whenever you have a chance to reflect on it, I appreciate it.
Yes,
or
ma'am.
From the commission. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Chairman Lee. Ms. Mosley, could you also add to the process of the eminent domain? Now, I'm quite sure the same process would be used under the Redevelopment Commission. Don't you first have to ask, if you take a piece of property, you have to contact that owner and offer them the market value on their property?
There are a couple of ways to pursue a condemnation action. One of those ways is to try to come to some type of agreement, but in every circumstance, the property owner receives just compensation. So whatever the value is for that property, the person whose property has been taken through eminent domain gets that value.
Good, thank you. Just wanted the public to know. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on to agenda item 8, consider adopting a resolution approving a transfer and reversion agreement with the City of New Bern.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. So several months ago, there was conversation amongst these members about acquiring properties from the city and county jointly. You created a list of 10 properties and submitted that to the city and county and asked for the local governments to convey those 10 properties to you. And I'm pleased to report that the Craven County and the City of New Bern have acknowledged that request and are inclined to do so, subject to certain conditions. So before you is a transfer and reversion agreement that sets forth the conditions by which this conveyance can occur. Specifically, it's between the City of New Bern and this commission, and it sets forth the 10 properties that will be conveyed to you all to be used consistent with your redevelopment plan. So as long as the use is consistent with one of those things outlined in your plan, you're deputized to use those properties, and there's a sunset. You have 60 months to use or cause these lots to be utilized unless there is a modification of the terms agreed upon by all parties. So this is an opportunity for you all to own these lots. The city and county, if you decide to reconvey any one of these lots, will partner with you all to release these conditions to any subsequent purchaser. But if you scroll through, if you have any particular or specific questions, I'm happy to answer them. But that's kind of the nuts and bolts of this agreement. So at the appropriate time, I think the chair is going to call for a motion to authorize the chair to sign the transfer and reversion agreement presented to you in your packet.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the commissioners tonight? Commissioner Walker?
No.
Commissioner Bryant?
No.
Commissioner Parham?
No.
Vice Chair?
Sure. One of the lots that we are getting from the city county is 209 Bryan Street. And we have a request already pending from an individual to purchase 209 Bryan Street. Okay, so my question is basically twofold. Selling that lot, if we will, to make it fit our plan and accomplishing our plan, we'll have to put restrictions on that lot that housing that be developed there will have to be available to low income, moderate income families.
I don't have, let me see if I can pull up your plan. I think your plan specifically talks about making housing available to low to moderate income families, but I think it talks about housing in a more broad concept. So if you see that it's consistent with the aims of your redevelopment plan for construction to happen on a lot that, let's just say, is vacant, having a structure there is better than no structure there. If you make that determination, I would see that determination as being consistent with your redevelopment plan.
Just to have a structure, period, without any conditions.
One condition may be that the structure has to be erected within a specific amount of time, that it has to be a certain square footage, that it be single family, for example. Those are types of conditions that you could impose that I think would be consistent with your plan.
Okay. The second part of the question is, who gets the money?
You own them.
Okay.
When I say you, I don't mean you, Mr. Peregoy, but the commission will own these lots once the deed and the transfer and reversion agreements are recorded. So any sales proceeds will come to the commission.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Proctor, questions?
My only question is it appears that the only real sort of condition in the transfer agreement is the 5-year term. I didn't really see anything else that.
And use consistent with the redevelopment plan.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Right. Commissioner Strickland?
Just to double check, at what point does that 60-month countdown start? Is that whenever the county deeded them over to the city or whenever we take possession? Everything's officially recorded?
I would say at the date of recording. So just to be clear about the process, the county has a deed to convey its interest in these lots to the city. Once you all have entered into the transfer and reversion agreement, the county will convey its interest to the city, and the city will subsequently convey its interest to you all. And I imagine that will happen in the next few days.
Thank you. Commissioner Morgan?
No.
Okay.
Can I make one more comment? I think one of the properties we're also getting was spoken to by Mr. Dorsey on A Street.
Yes.
That is a piece of property that we have not owned, but we are getting it in this process of the 10 lots from the county. And so we will have control of that, and that house will be as part of an accumulation of properties along A Street, and that house will be demolished and gone.
All right. All right. So if we don't have any other questions for Attorney Mosley, if you don't have any other concerns, if we could get a motion to adopt the resolution approving the transfer and reversion agreement and approving the chair to sign the agreement, please.
Madam Chair, I'm not sure if a resolution was included in the package, so I think the motion would be captioned, a motion to approve the transfer and reversion agreement with the City of New Bern.
Just the transfer, okay. All right.
So move.
Second. Second. Questions, discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Moving on to agenda item 9. Consider approving a resolution to recommend initiating the upset bid process for the property located at 837 Pavie Avenue.
Yeah, sure I can. This was brought up, I think, 2 meetings ago by Mr. Richards, and it was referred, based on our protocol, it was referred to the Housing Work Group to investigate this house and this property and see if it fit our needs or something we could work with. The housing work group went out and looked at the property, and we have determined that the best use of that property is to allow it to go into the upset bid process.
Thoughts from the commission? Okay. Questions? Okay, well, we need a motion to approve the resolution recommending the upset bid to the Board of Aldermen then.
I make the motion to approve the resolution to recommend initiating the upset bid process for the property located at 837 Pavie Street.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, aye.
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 Nays? Ayes have it. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 10, presentation by Peter Frey regarding his second bid for 203 Jones Street and 207 Jones Street. And Mr. Frey and Mr. George. Yes, sir.
Did everybody get one of these packets?
Yeah.
Yes, we have it. Thank you.
You guys might have to share.
Alderman Biswell.
I took the information that you guys gave me for your plan for Jones Street, 203 and 207, and I changed my plan a little bit to accommodate your plan a little bit. Did you guys get a chance to go through this at all? I can read it to you. I intend to build a single-family home as my primary residence and begin construction soon, consistent with RDC plans. I'm wishing the right to be granted to build the home there because it's close to my commercial business. And I want also build a second home on the other parcel to be used as a residential tenant property. Number 4 and number 5 on that page, you can see they're just reminders of the bid that I put in. How I think that I wanted you to look at the value of my plan and not the value of the bid, because all I did was follow the formula that the RDC uses to determine the minimum bid price. Then for the residential one that I want to use as a tenant, I've created a solution for residents affected when RDC plans to assist residents with remodeling of their homes, as well as residents seeking viable lease options in the 5 Points area. Estimated projected rental income for this type of property is between $1,000 and $2,000 a month, and I plan a bonus enrichment for the community. I'm pledging to offer $9,900 a year, that part of the projected rental income to be donated to the Stanley White Rec Center. So there's a bunch of solutions to the problems that you had with my last plan to just build one house and live there. Then there's some pros and cons. I've got a couple pictures of possible houses that I've looked into. If I build these 2 single-family residential homes in the 5 Points area, it will hopefully encourage and bring new investors and residents to purchase property from the RDC and build homes in the area. It'll increase home ownership, which I'm pretty sure aligns with the RDC's mission plan. And another pro is the pledge to bonus of funds from the proposed and projected rental income could be generated up to almost $10,000, which will now supply a surplus of funds to the RDC to then designated for use for future programs offered at the Stanley White Rec Center. And then on the back page, there's some things that I think that could help also make your job a lot easier. I like it that you want to I like what you want to do, and I think you have a lot of opportunity, and you have over 150 other properties where you could build those homes. And if you did what you want to do in the different properties, and I did what I want to do on those properties, it would be a win-win for everybody. And also a reminder, I've lived on that street or a block, 2 blocks away for almost 10 years now, and I've moved my business there, and I really love this neighborhood. I use that park almost every day, and I want to be close to my business, and that's why this property means so much to me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Frey. Mr. George, where you go?
Just from the first presentation that Mr. Frey made on November 9th. Well, he followed the bid process outlined. We did the research, we called the commission's office, we called the tax office, we spoke to the city clerk. As a citizen, we followed what was publicly out there for us, what your official process was, and we followed to a T. We presented it. It's supposed to be a presentation on the value of the plan. We went ahead, because he was anxious about the property, we wanted to put through our bid office to purchase contracts, which you don't have to do at the time, because it's supposed to be about the use. So you're here to tell us that any citizen in New Bern who wants to take a piece of land that was already qualified and said that it was available for us to do and offer the bid purchase process was to present a plan. And then you would get basically a fair chance to have a hearing on the use of that plan. The only comments of that night from November 9th, 2022 were from the Housing Committee to say that they had a better use for that land. They mentioned comments such as they had a partnership, they wouldn't name the partner. They didn't have funding in place, and they were working on getting the funding in place once the partnership was established. To me, that's not a plan. That's November. We've heard various statements from this board, especially, I guess, the Housing Committee looks into doing housing. Such things as it was a tiny home project. We're going to put 4 homes now. This was at a meeting of January 11th. And to build on 2 lots, 4 tiny homes. I heard something about for veterans. I heard something about we decided that that's a better use of the property. Now we're doing 4 homes. There was a slideshow of what the 4 homes look like. Come to the next meeting we see in February that there was the approval of the proposal from the contractor for tiny homes. They didn't approve the contractor. There was no budget. And the designs for those vacant lots still were not finalized. There has been no further discussion of what your plans are. And this really is kind of like disheartening to anybody who wants a citizen to get involved in the process of what you publicize for offer to purchase when the land is available. Because he took time from November, and here we are in March. You're telling us also that one other statement was made back in November, shovels will be starting in January. That tells me you guys are organized, you looked into it, I guess you understand real estate, you understand about land, you understand about budget, but everything you look as far as the facts from the meeting, none of this was properly disclosed. There was really not a plan. There really wasn't any funding. The only last funding that I see that was asked for seed money back in January to start something, but no budget approval until I think recently there was a minor approval for the budget. City attorney told you that basically you're not supposed to be in a long-term rental lease of properties for business. So that plan is shot. If you have guidelines and you have powers, which were just outlined again, and to know what you can do and what you can't, how you can buy land, how you can sell land, unless you're going to be realtors or a realtor company or a management of a realtor property management company, I guess that plan was a failure from what it was told. Also, the Housing Committee basically told Mr. Frey that there was prior discussions going back as far as September. And that tells me that you guys, okay, they do have a use. I would listen to the comments. But there's no substantiation of those agreements. And anything, if it took that long from September and there still hasn't been anything built from the RDC as rehabilitation, other than spending money to move houses, spending money to repair houses, not having any funds per se to keep doing business and borrowing city funds, which I have one other question is, can the RDC keep using city funds to purchase land? And when the result is, when you go ahead and now you can't build them for rental properties, you're selling land. So I don't know if that meets real estate, the word of real estate and selling of property. Maybe the authority should be looked into what you're doing, because the proceeds go to the commission. So that means you could pick anybody's land, take away anybody's bid purpose to say you have now a good use for it or a better use for it, not substantiate anything that you say as far as accurate plans, no discussion. And
Mr. George.
Nothing is done from those.
Are you standing up in support of Mr. Frey's application?
Oh, for sure, that's what I'm here for. I mean,
Okay.
I think it really is a disjustice to anybody that went through this, especially Mr. Frey, from now to November.
Yeah.
Because he just hasn't received any justice whatsoever, and you still don't have a plan, and nothing's gonna start, and you don't know when it will be even started or completed or funding, although I heard a budget was approved. We never heard what that budget amount was, because it's very costly to change 2 lots into 3 lots, also build the homes, and then you're gonna take the profit, then you'll finally have some seed money. He offered solutions. He listened to every meeting. He came out, put his time and effort into this bid offer that was legitimately, legally put in for it, and I think his use is better. Now he changed his presentation to meet your needs. He's going to build a rental property that he can use for a leasing. He talked to a rental property management company to get an estimation of $1,000 to $2,000 in monthly rent. We'll offer almost $10,000 of the first year's rent, so then you'll have surplus money that you can use to something that is worthwhile, which is a Stanley, I forgot what the name of it was, sorry. The recreation hall where you can use it for programs. So you'll have a win-win. You're getting his money, first of all, for the bid. You're going to get money from his rent. You're going to have a property that's going to be built to be rent to anybody who's low income or in the area in 5 Points. It's a viable solution for rental, which you're looking for, even though you have 74% rentals as opposed to home ownership. And your mission statement says you're looking for people to come in, buy land and build homes, which is kind of contradictory, because I haven't seen any of that happening. And so his plans, when you look at it, that's why you don't have any cons to your plan on his presentation. And we only have pros that I think is the best use for the property, because we did what you're actually trying to do. We're putting up a rental house. We're having a rental, you would have to have a rental property management, but you found that you can't do long-term rentals. So you're going to build houses and sell them to the public and make the money, and then you'll have some money to use. Here, he's giving you bid money. He's giving you rental income as a pledge to go to something worthwhile in the community to help out. I think he just solved all your problems. So I hope that you would tonight seriously look through his program, because it's basically outlined of what your mission statement says, and show some transparency into what's actually going on with your plan and when that will actually take to fruition. He can start this plan, and he's ready to start this plan, and I think it's a win-win for everybody and the RDC. And I hope that you could put for best use for property for the upset bid process.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. George. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Frey. Okay, we'll go back to the housing working group. Thank you.
Commissioner,
Yes, I'm sorry.
are you gonna have a period here if we have questions
Let me,
after after their presentation?
yeah, let me get Commissioner Strickland, and then I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Just to be clear, I see a note here saying that you would hope that we would review the value of your plan presented today instead of the purchase bid offer contract submitted to the clerk. So is what you are offering here in addition to what was offered to the clerk? Are you modifying that dollar value that you offered there in any way, shape, or form? Or is this solely just a supplement?
According to what we've learned from the commission, and even when Mr. Frey did the presentation, you have supposed to be voting on his plan. He didn't have to put in a bid to offer contract. You're only supposed to submit a plan, and after that plan is reviewed, if it's voted for, then you could put in a bid to offer contract. He did that because he wanted to make sure he was the first person to put that bid offer to bid out there. So basically, his idea, he was putting money up front, and he wanted to get the bid into the city clerk. But your rules say that you're supposed to be voting on the use of the plan against your plan for usage of the property. Not anything about what the bid purchase price is gonna be, and that's why we put in a presentation, so the public will know. You can put in the lowest bid based on what the formula is, which we asked the commissioner, which is outlined in our presentation, where you're putting the minimum bid, because it's the first bid out there. So you know that the risk is it's going to go to upset bid process.
So again, I will ask, is this in
Commissioner
supplement to the
Strickland.
initial?
I think the answer was that there's no change to the monetary value presented in the offer to purchase.
And actually, we did come to realize when we go through the meeting minutes, and we saw something online, and I don't know if that's proper, but his bid, and I haven't seen anybody's bid, contract bid, out on public website. It's publicized out there just with his signature and what his bid amounts are. So that leaves it open to the public to know what his bid was before we even came for a second presentation. So I don't think that's proper. Thank you.
Second question.
Yes, sir.
Are we allowed in any way, shape, or, and this is more for the city attorney, to consider a pledge as a part of an offer to purchase?
That's a good question, Commissioner Strickland. Contracts to buy or sell property have to be in writing. I'm having a difficult time in this moment because this is the first I'm seeing of this pledge in this presentation, to come up with a mechanism to bind Mr. Frey or his agents to some type of charitable contribution ongoing in the future. That's something I would need to reflect upon.
Okay. Commissioner Morgan, do you have any questions?
Yes, I have two very quick questions for Mr. Frey, if you will, please. Prior to your November 9th presentation, had you ever appeared before the commission about any properties?
No, but I did talk to, in October, we contacted Katrisa in October, the tax office and the clerk here to see if there was any interest in it and in that property, and we were advised to proceed, that the RDC was interested in letting it go.
One more quick question, and I'd like the short version, if you will, please. Why did you feel the need to move forward after the November 9th presentation? Why did you feel the need to move forward on this property?
Because I wanted to be on the agenda. I wanted to give my plan and start the upset bid process.
What was your understanding?
When?
What were you told at the November 9th meeting? What I'm trying to find out is if there was already usage, and did you have any understanding that there was already
on
usage?
November 9th, I gave a presentation just like I did tonight, and nothing was brought up. Nobody said, wait a minute, we already have plans for this. Nobody said, wait a minute, we have a partnership with somebody for this property. At that moment, that could have been the end of it, but I was allowed to go to the next meeting to hear thoughts.
So that's the answer. That's the reason why you decided to move forward, because you were not told not to.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Parker?
It's maybe a question, because I don't have the November and December notes in front of me tonight. At some point, we did respond, though, and say no, I thought that was.
In November meeting.
That was November?
Mhm.
Okay. So there has
To
been.
his presentation that he made at the November meeting, which doesn't look anything like what's being presented now.
Yeah, gotcha. I wasn't here in
He was
November,
going
and
to
I've only
build-
read the minutes, so I wanted to make sure I understood that.
His initial presentation to us, he was going to start a home in 2 years, and it was just one home, and for his own personal use. And that was what we made our decision based on, that we had a better use for that piece of property than that proposal that he made to us that night.
And we followed our plan to the T in responding at the following meeting to that proposal.
Any further questions, Commissioner Parker?
That's it.
Vice Chair?
No.
Commissioner Parker?
No.
Commissioner Bryant?
No.
Commissioner Walker? Alderman Best?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Frey, and your representative for your presentation. But Commission, I'm a little bit befuddled here right now. I thought if I'm correct, at your December 14th meeting, a motion was made and carried that y'all rejected Mr. Frey's bid. So if that motion was made and carried, so why are you still continuing with this process if those two properties, 203 and 207 Jones Street, is not available to Mr. Frey? Have the commission expressed to Mr. Frey this? Have you made Mr. Frey aware of this?
Yeah, Mr. Frey made a subsequent offer. So he came back with a second offer.
So that's the second bid?
This is his second offer.
That's the second bid?
And on that note, Mr. Frey, could you refresh me, what was your initial bid for the property?
Oh, it's just slightly more. I think it was exact value.
Okay. So he's returned now with a bid that's, I guess, slightly less than the initial bid.
December 16th. The December 16th. So, at this point, you're still in deliberation about his second proposal to you, about what his land use is gonna be, what he's gonna build there and everything? You're still in discussion about that, the commission?
Yes, ma'am. Following our protocol, after the presentation is made, then the housing working group deliberates and offers our recommendation at the following meeting.
Okay, so at that following meeting, whether that motion is a yes or no, you're gonna finalize this process with Mr. Frey?
Again, yes.
Okay. So, yeah, I think, yeah, so that, you know, whatever the outcome be, a yes or a no to Mr. Frey, I think this process, you know, needs to come to a conclusion because, has the commission looked into finding some other properties that the redevelopment commission owns that Mr. Frey can bid on, or that hasn't been discussed with Mr. Frey?
That was offered at our meeting. It was offered, and I don't think Mr. Frey was interested in properties other than these two.
Okay.
I don't think there was much in-depth discussion, but we did say we would help him find properties within our boundaries.
And Mr. Frey, question to you, if that's the way it still stands? You are still wanting these two properties, 203 and 207 Jones Street, and not interested in looking into some other properties that the redevelopment commission owns?
No, it's the neighborhood I live in.
Can you come to, please?
No, I really love this neighborhood. I've lived in it for almost 10 years, and I moved my business here 4 years ago, and I use the park every day. It's just a great location. I don't want to live in Pembroke. I want to be close to where I have been for 10 years.
All right, thank you,
And,
sir. I just wish,
there are a lot of properties that the RDC could also build houses on. You know, they could take their plan and go somewhere else as well, and I could do my plan, and it'd be a win-win for everyone.
well, I wish there was something that I could say or do to direct the commission, but the commission makes their own. I don't have any voting power for as it comes to the commission or whatever decision they decide to make on any agenda item that comes forth to them. But I just wish that you could take a look into some other properties that the redevelopment commission owns and possibly, you know, maybe you can find 2 in Ward 5, which is my ward. I mean, it's in walking distance and, you know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of properties. Yeah, I hate that, you know, you're having to go through this process, but I just, you know, hopefully we can come to the commission can come to some conclusion soon.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Alderman Royal,
No.
Alderman Prill, anything else? Okay, all right, thank you. Agenda item 11, discussion on adopting a list for the redevelopment commission's property. And I'm going to ask Attorney Mosley to give us some further information on that so that we will have enough information to vote on
Absolutely.
this property.
So before you, I think, has been presented a list of several properties. There's also a map on display in the City Hall courtroom that depicts these lots in a visual manner. I have learned since the publication of this packet that this list includes properties that are owned by the Redevelopment Commission outright, also the City of New Bern, Craven County, and combinations of those two. Technically, this commission does not have the power to declare somebody else's property surplus, okay? So with that in mind, understanding that I think the purpose behind this exercise is for this commission to communicate to the public the lots that they are willing to entertain redevelopment proposals. So what has been customary, what has been alluded to tonight is when someone is interested in government-owned property located within the Redevelopment Commission boundary, they come to this commission, no matter which government entity owns the property, and makes a presentation about their intended redevelopment proposal. What you can do tonight, if you're so inclined, is you can adopt this list as it is or with modifications to indicate to the world that you are willing to accept redevelopment proposals about these lots and these lots only. So if you get to the point where you want to make a motion tonight, I would caption that motion in this manner. It would be a motion to accept redevelopment proposals for the properties listed on this list.
Okay. All right, any questions from the commission? Commissioner Morgan?
No.
Commissioner Strickland? Commissioner Proctor?
No.
Vice Chair?
The flip side to this is there's some properties owned that, by the Redevelopment Commission, that are not on this list. So they're not, by virtue of not being on this, they are not available to the public for sale.
They are not available to the public for this commission to entertain any type of redevelopment proposal.
Okay. Now, of those lots that are not on here, the Redevelopment Commission could still enter into private sale of those properties?
The Redevelopment Commission could determine at a later date that you do want to entertain proposals and consider selling those properties. It may not be for private sale, because we have to use, again, going back to our chart, one of those mechanisms. But you can change your mind at any time to add properties to this list, subtract properties from this list, or otherwise declare property available for sale, if this commission is so inclined.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Parham? Commissioner Bryant?
No.
Commissioner Walker?
No, thank you.
Okay. If we have no further questions, Alderman Best, do you have any?
Yes, I do. I'm just looking at your list here, but I'm quite sure you got some other tools that shows these properties that's up for, that is available to our citizens to purchase. Do you have any indication on any of them that's saying which ones are in the flood zone and which properties are not? Do you have that information? I know you may not have it tonight, but I'm saying you probably have it.
Yes, oh yeah, we do, we do.
You do? Okay.
Yes.
Can I get a copy of that, or how you have it?
Yeah, we, staff, Ms. Bowman can get her to send it send a copy of that to you.
You have a small scale of that somewhere, right?
So, this was the last map that was done by Alice.
Okay.
It is, you can't see from here, but the streets and things are on this map.
Okay.
And so when she went back and we tried to shrink it, you can't read it. So as the surplus lots are listed, they're listed here too. So we're trying to come up with a better format so you can see exactly which ones are in the flood zone.
Okay.
The list that you have in your packets is on an Excel sheet, and several columns are hidden. And those columns that are hidden will tell you more about how they are zoned and whether or not they are in a flood zone and what type of zoning they are actually in.
Okay.
So I could send that out as well.
So a citizen can, so I'm pretty sure this information is online on the city's website under redevelopment commission?
It's not yet.
Not yet, but it's
Not
coming.
yet.
So a citizen could go up there and take a look at those lots and you see all that information themselves.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. That's what I was, getting to. That was it.
Okay, all right. Alderman Prill? Okay, Alderman Royal? Okay, all right. Anyone so inclined to make the motion to accept the redevelopment proposal?
Moses, we'll see if I can get this correct. I'll make a motion that we accept this list as properties that the commission is willing to accept offers to purchase from the public.
I think your motion is to accept this list, to receive redevelopment proposals for the redevelopment of these lots.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, all right. Any further questions or discussions? All in favor, aye? Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Thank you so much. All right. Agenda item 12, Executive Director's report.
I just want to thank you guys. I don't know if you noticed, but March the 1st was my 6th month being here. So I'm thankful for the privilege and the opportunity to work with you guys. Now that we have a better idea of the powers and the limitations, I'm looking for you to provide me with directives and where you want to go based on the priorities that we have been given prior to knowing exactly what we can and cannot do. So I'm looking forward to working with you guys, looking forward to getting those directives. I know that we talked about the bricks and mortar, and that is a lot of what the Redevelopment Commission is responsible for, but at some point, developing the partners for the human-centered side will be something that we won't, do hands-on, but we want to bring in additional partners, so when we get those properties ready, that we will have someone in that zone to be able to qualify and go in those properties. Just to give you an update, on March the 20th, there's a free grant writing workshop. I will be attending that. Recently, I have been on a lot of calls with investors and also with different grant funding. There's a lot that's coming through legislation on affordable housing, and there's an opportunity to be creative in some of those aspects, especially when you look at housing and health. So again, I want to thank you guys for allowing me the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to working with you and get those directives as to the direction that we're going to go.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Bowman? All right, thank you so much. Thank you for all you do. We appreciate it.
Yes, we appreciate you. You appreciate it. 100%.
Thank you.
Agenda item 13 is our working groups reports. Our first working group is the housing working group. Vice Chair?
Well, we've talked a lot about it so far already,
That's
but
true.
I do want to pass out to the commission the preliminary surveys that we talked about earlier on the Jones Street property to fulfill our plan. for the utilization of that property. We've had the property surveyed and in detail, locating the trees that are out there, elevation shots, and located all of the different utility locations and so forth. This is a first draft of this that the housing work group will work with to tweak if we so desire to come up with a permanent proposal on subdividing this property into the 3 lots.
Question.
Yeah.
This is your proposal for the property, am I correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is this the proposal that we will put out there for someone to bid on the property to develop as is, like this?
No.
Is that the purpose?
No, this is the purpose, to subdivide into lots for us to build housing on it.
All right. All right. So, to build housing on?
Yes.
Okay. So, do we have someone in mind to build the houses, or is this board gonna build the houses?
We're going to hire a general contractor to construct housing.
Okay. And these houses will be for sale?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so now my next question is, this is the housing board, this is the housing group's recommendation. So if this, correct?
Well, this is a first draft document that
Okay.
I just got yesterday.
Okay, okay,
And so I brought it to you so you would have it, the ability to look at it
okay,
and comment to it. The housing work group will, again, use this as a working document to tweak if we need to come up with a firm plat that we will submit to the city for approval.
okay. Now, my next question is, so if we're pursuing this here, does this automatically let the gentleman here know that we're not gonna accept his plan at all? Is this it? That kind of gets a stop to his?
Well, they kind of can work in concert.
Okay.
There will be 2 plans. You got to realize a couple other things.
Okay,
We just approved the surplus lot thing that did not include Jones Street,
Okay,
which means it's not available for public purchase, okay, per se. And
he's talking the lot, he's talking about it's not for public sale.
it's not on the list that we just approved.
So if it's not on the list to sell, I wonder why did we entertain his offer the first time if it wasn't for sale? Help me out.
First time,
Yeah,
back
help
in
me out.
November?
Yeah,
That's because we didn't entertain his offer
We
back in
didn't?
November. No, we did not. We
okay,
told him that we had a higher and better use for the property, and we were not going to recommend selling the property to him.
okay, okay.
And this
The
is,
commission voted no.
Yeah.
It wasn't the housing work group.
the
The
commission was
commission
not,
heard the proposition, heard the plan, and voted no.
Okay, okay.
And Madam Chair, if I can just add one more point of clarity. Our policies and procedures call for the intended purchaser to come before the full commission to make a presentation as to their intended use consistent with the policies that you've created. Before tonight, the full commission did not have an opportunity to hear what Mr. Frey's presentation might be. So you didn't vote on a surplus property list before hearing his presentation so that you could have his presentation in mind before you make any other decisions. Also, it may be that when reflecting upon Mr. Frey's new presentation, a recommendation could come out of the work group to say, let's revise our surplus property list to be able to make the property available to Mr. Frey. That is for you all to deliberate upon and think about. At this juncture, I don't believe, and Mr. Vice Chair, correct me if I'm wrong, if there has been any vote to date to pursue a particular course of action as it relates to 203 and 207 Jones Street. So before a subdivision can be presented to the city, whether it's major or minor, this commission will have to vote to present that plan or plat to the city.
Okay.
So you'll have an opportunity at that juncture to say, do we want to move forward with the subdivision, or do we want to pursue some other type of project?
Okay, that's clear.
And that's why I'm giving you this
Okay.
ahead of time, so
Okay.
you can look at it and be ready for the questions at the next meeting.
Thank you. Okay.
This is our continuing effort for transparency. I mean,
Okay.
we always bring our work for everybody to see.
Yeah, I understand, that's fine,
Okay.
okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Commissioner Bryant, questions, thoughts? Commissioner Walker, anything else? Okay, good. All right. Anything else, Vice Chair?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Well, I defer to the people who were here last month, during the month, Steve and Beth. Beth might want to talk about Eubank Street.
Oh, yes, for the house, sorry.
Yes.
Very exciting. Eubanks is moving right along. The contractor has submitted his first pay application, and I verified that the work was complete in the pay application today on site. The building has a new roof. The exterior brick has been repaired, and the chimney and all the damaged brick has been re-bricked. The interior has been completely gutted, and I've been working with Ed Munford, who is the general contractor. He's brought two items to my attention. One was the construction of the house was not as we anticipated. We anticipated a frame house with a brick veneer. It's actually a double wide masonry house. It's probably why it did so well in the move. But the
Double brick.
yeah,
Double
the wall material on the inside was not actually chipboard as we know it. It was more of a plaster board that was adhered directly to the interior brick. So it was quite a different construction. He's removed that, and we're going to go back with a furred wall system, which is adding wood boards behind new drywall. He also had a great idea about how to make a better laundry room, move the washer and dryer, and showed me that today in the house, and I think that's a good work thing. So I just want to let everybody know that he's not doing any changes to the plans without our approval, and all of the changes to the plans are at no additional cost. So I think they're moving right along. They've got the front steps and rear steps in place too, so you can walk into the house now. I mean, I would recommend if anyone wants to visit the site that you contact me so that I can let him know. I don't think it's a good idea to go out there. It is not a safe site. It's a hard hat site only, and it's moving.
Yep,
There's
yep, it looks
people
nice.
moving all day.
Yep, it's moving along. Yeah. All right, anything else from the working group? Steve? Okay, all right. Roy, I don't think, did you have comment regarding the plan? Did she get me?
I don't know, I've had plenty of them.
I did get one, but I do have a question, if you would please. I'm looking at this presentation here on paper, and I heard subdivide, and I was wondering, is there a cost analysis already provided that we can look at the breakdown of all the costs that will incur as a result of subdividing and so forth and so on? The other thing, before I got to that, in addition to that, I read somewhere where the working groups were asked to submit a report. Is that correct? I was trying to find it in the minutes.
Yeah.
To submit on paper.
Yeah, they have been asked to, all the working groups have been asked to do a written report.
So do we have those available tonight?
Oh, well, I know he's been out of the country.
Yeah, I just got back in country over the weekend, and I did not have a written report prepared.
So the housing group is a one-man committee?
No. There's four people.
He's the chair of the housing working group. No.
There are 4 people on the housing work group.
Right, so would it not defer to the next person to provide the report?
We actually never met during the month.
So I'm still looking for something on written paper.
Yeah, I understand.
And, I think that would be very beneficial to all of us to be able to refer to it and take a look at again, the cost, and like I said, if we're talking subdivide, and you said that, I believe someone made mention that it would be costly or included in the cost. I just wanted to look at it and to see, to be able to follow it. I'm a visual person. I like to look at what is being said. And so going forward, I would strongly urge if we can have those written reports available so that we can take a look at it and then get the cost as we move along to see what each item will cost.
These, in
We'll
the,
be doing a budget as
yeah, in
we're
our
revising
original
a budget.
proposal for rental property, we had a detailed budget for the site work and pre-construction activities that had cost in that for surveying and things of that nature. And that will be included as we develop a new budget for our new plan.
Right, and
That will be
that was what I
available.
was speaking, since things have changed.
Yes.
If we could have that before us also, please.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay, all right, thank you. Neighborhood Working Group, Commissioner Morgan, any report tonight?
Yes, I would like to make a report for the neighborhood working group. And I am a committee of one at the moment, currently. And my written report will be submitted to the executive director in the next 24 hours. With the change in the seasons, the landscape and the look of the redevelopment commission has changed. I mean, the redevelopment area has changed along with the seasons. Different foliage has started to grow back up again. Of course, pollen is running rampant. And I've met with Foster Hughes. He has assured me that we have his full support. He's also given me his cell number and offered the support of Public Works, the City of New Bern, equipment, heavy-duty equipment, personnel, boots on the ground, and we're also in the process of forming a better relationship with the Department of Corrections through Major McFadden out at Clark's, and along with some other agencies that we would be able to partner with when we conduct our next community cleanup. We are also still very concerned about the community garbage overflow. It's not necessarily because of dumping, we have found out, but it gets back to more so of the multi-generational families that live in that area who use one garbage can per household, one recycle bin, which is only picked up once a month, and only one garbage can that's picked up once a week. And I have not made it any secret that something has to be done, something has to be looked at, whether we're looking at new and additional receptacles or more garbage pickup. With the recyclables only being monthly, a lot of people are using their recyclable bins to put trash in. Then when it's time to dump the recyclables, the drivers are not dumping it because it's not recyclable, it's trash, it's garbage, and then that causes a whole new problem. We have cats, we have dogs, it's overflowing, and the wind is blowing, and that's where we're getting a lot of the debris in the area. So we still have to work on it, whether we start putting out dumpsters on city-owned property and just having more of a cleanup has yet to be discussed. And of course, I've been in contact with Foster about that. And we have to get on it. Also, on a brighter note, I have been by the Eubank Street dwelling, and I go by it daily, and that was a very current picture. It looks good. The guys are out there every single day, and they're working on that property, and it's getting more of a buzz from the community, because the community also sees the Washington Street project, the Raleigh Street project, and the Main Street project, which is out in front of the Dodge City Market, where they have gone underground. The infrastructure, the sewer, the pipes have been redone, and they're in the process of repaving those roads. Fortunately, the Redevelopment Commission has gained some thanks for that, even though we may not have been directly. It's a team effort along with the city, but we'll take any wins anywhere we can get them. The community is very excited about the work that's going on. Also, we have a new restaurant that has come in the area, which is located right beside Mr. Terry Holloway's Dodge City Market. It's called Double D's. It has given a new business in the community. All of these things matter because it was so long that nobody wanted to come in, nobody was bringing anything in, and now we're getting a new life, and they're seeing some activity going on, especially with those 3 projects. The McCarter House has been torn down. It is no more. We are looking at some community cleanups that we will be in partnership with the community and with the churches. I think there are 30 active churches in the redevelopment area, maybe a little more, but we're going to include everybody. And we have our own secret weapon in Mrs. Ruth Cooper, who I spoke with earlier, and she is going to be with us. She has some great ideas, and if she'll stand, I just want to say thank you. So we are very pleased with the visual of what's been going on in the redevelopment area. We can always do better. We ask that you please, at any point in time, I ask the commission and the ex officio members, if you will ride through, and if you feel the need, please get out and walk the area and let them see you. Let my neighbors see you. Let the community see you, because it's only going to give them more satisfaction, and it's going to give them the thought that, hey, we are not blighted, we're not forgotten about, and that there is some activity that is going on in the redevelopment area. I have come in contact with quite a few of Chief Gallagher's staff from New Bern Police Department. They have been very engaging with the youth, and they're doing a great job. They're visible, and they're approachable, and they're making themselves approachable. The redevelopment area is changing, and it's changing for the better. I also wanted to thank Parks and Recs, the area out at the old Stanley White site. There are lights that are on all through the dark hours, where it was pitch black dark over there in a very dangerous area. It is now well lit. It is being used. There's a basketball court, and I'm just very pleased to give the report and just say thank you to the City of New Bern, thank you to the Redevelopment Commission, and thank you to those of you that have come out to support us. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Morgan. The Health and Wellness Center, I think Mr. Wallace, Commissioner Wallace, has a report in the packet. There's been an update to that. I think it was myself, Commissioner Wallace, and another young lady. We went to Durham to visit the Lincoln Health Center, and then we also went to the Care Center right around the corner from the Lincoln Center, and North Carolina Central, which is a partner in the health and wellness, and was up there most of the day. The Lincoln Center was very, very impressive. Very impressive. Very impressive. Ms. Patricia went as well. The Care Center did not necessarily have services there, but they did testing and some other things, more of a advocate, but he can give you more information on that. And then the rest of his report is there. I met with them with Carolina East, and I talked to Mr. Hager today at the YMCA, and so I know he met with him and everything, but he can give you more information at the next meeting. At this time, we would have a presentation from Antoinette Bosky regarding the hub there on Garden screen.
Thank you. I will say, after hearing y'all tonight, I got just a little bit nervous for the first time ever. And then I remembered I could say a prayer and God will give the words I need to say and I'll be all right. On the other hand, Commissioner Morgan, if you need volunteers, let me know. I'm willing to help.
I got your number.
With your committee of one. That's a lot of work.
Thank you.
I do want to, if I can, transfer those to you. Thank you. I want to share with you a brochure for the Resource Hub. I know that I have come to you with many hats in many different ways, and y'all know me through many different avenues. But today, I am just Antoinette Bosky. Just me, somebody who has been active in my community, loves my community, and wants to see the best for my community. Tonight, it's all about the Resource Hub. You've probably heard some things about it, heard some whispers about it, and I'm hoping today gives you any clarity regarding what role the Resource Hub plays in the development of our community, and how it can benefit and has been benefiting our community. One of the things that I can say as someone who has worked in human resources forever and a day, my degrees are in human resources and human services, and the one thing I've noticed that many people have noticed is there are a lot of resources. We have everything we need. It's just not accessed completely. There is always some kind of hiccup with people being able to truly access the services. It's not that New Bern does not have a way to provide those resources. It's just the access piece that's been difficult. And we know that COVID made that even more difficult for families. Research has shown that families who, even those families who were leaving to access services from their community when COVID came, they were not accessing those services as much. And so with the Resource Hub, what I want you to think of is community and partners working together in a centralized way to provide services and support for our community. If you've ever heard me talk, you've heard me always say, we can invest in the brick and mortar all we want to. It is not sustainable, and it means nothing if we don't invest in the people. The people are what makes a community tick. The people are what makes their community great, and the people are what we need to invest in to maintain those buildings, to ensure we're picking up the trash and maintaining our community. When we look at that for residents of the greater Duffield area and the services that can be provided, I want you to think about what it would be like if you were someone who had to run to social services to be able to get one resource. You then had to run across town to another provider to get another resource, and then you had to run the other way to get another resource. Have any of y'all ever rode the carts before? Ha! Will take you all day. Maybe you can't get it all done in a day. If you've ever had issues with transportation before, you know that after going so many places and possibly being told you need to go somewhere else, it gets frustrating. You lose hope. And you end up giving up and just not having that resource, and that puts our families in crisis. The Resource Hub is a centralized way to meet those needs. When you look at the brochure, if you look in the middle, you'll see every single partner that has already signed a memorandum of understanding with Abundant Life Community Services to provide some centralized services in the Resource Hub. Now, I'll tell you who's not on that list that has since signed an MOU. Legal Aid of North Carolina, Vocational Rehab, NC Works Next Gen program, which is employment support for our youth, as well as Coastal Community Action and the YMCA. Why is it important for us all to be in one place? It's important for us all to be in one place because I've seen what an interdisciplinary approach to families, the difference it can make. Families don't fit in a mold. It's not a one-size-fits-all. You really have to find a way to get partners at a table together that can serve that family. That became even more of a revelation to me during the storm, because if you don't know one of the hats I wear, CCDRA Long-Term Recovery Group, and that case management. That case management was generated and created in a way that we could prevent duplication of services. How often do we hear that people are going from place to place, their duplication of benefits, and they're still stuck in the same place in their life? It's all about how we provide those services and work together. So if you have a family who presents with the need for food, but you also find that there are some concerns related to parenting and some concerns related to employment, you now have a centralized place where internal referral can be made to say, yes, we can meet this immediate need, but let's work together to meet the other needs of this family so that they're not continuing to come back for the same resource. If a family is coming back to you continuously for the same resource, y'all, we're missing something. I'm going to tell you, it means we're missing something. It means that there's something else we have to address with that family. And so by virtue of this, these partners have agreed, well, when we see that a family needs more intensive support, when we see that we're supporting the same families, we will work together in order to help that family elevate to the next level of what is needed. What does that mean? What does it mean to work in tandem? What is the difference? What is the big aha that makes this different from any other resource hub? You ever heard of family life education? Anybody?
Yep.
Thank you, Commissioner Parham. If you have heard of family life education, it is a professional, evidence-based practice where you equip and empower families with knowledge and skills that can help them address some of these societal issues we see. Things like domestic violence, things like employment, things like interpersonal communication, parenting, how to better use the resources in your family, not just monetary resources, but even your time. That can be hard in families that are already struggling in poverty and dealing with trauma. How often do we hear people say that they would love to go talk to somebody about their issues, but they don't have the insurance, whole other issue in itself I'm not going to get on, or they don't have the money to do it. They can go to this hub and receive some mental health services for free. So this is a place where we invest in the people, and it is part of what is deemed the circle of hope. Now, y'all probably heard Mr. Reggie talk about the circle of hope already. I am kind of his little partner in crime with that. Good crime, good trouble. Hello. But when you talk about the circle of hope, you do have what we call help, opportunities, provision, education. You're addressing the health piece when you're looking at the Health and Wellness Center at the McCotter House. There, we will definitely be able to have a place in our community where we can address our health care needs and be able to walk to it. But what if you're at the Health and Wellness Center and you realize, oh man, there's some more support this family can use that can help them to get out of this rut. The goal is you'll then send them to the opportunity side, which is the resource hub through a referral, where you'd be able to say to the resource hub, okay, we need your help with these particular pieces for a family. They can receive that family life education support. Education is key to making a difference in communities. You know, when we look at things like the community gardens that are coming up, from Craven Terrace to the garden at the resource hub, that's all about education. How do you address a food desert? Well, rather than just give them the food, you ever heard, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, teach him how to fish, he'll be able to eat forever? Yeah, teach them how to fish, teach them how to grow their food, teach them how to cook their food healthily. Those are things that and initiatives that you see in the community and you hear about, and you may not know that they are connected, but they are most definitely connected. And they are definitely a part of our community's vision, and I say our community's vision, to address the needs that we have. For us, I think that I'm certain that one of the most important pieces that I'm going to continue to scream it is investing in the people. And this helps us to do it. It helps us to lay the framework that helps families to build the skills they need. You know, you sit in some of these meetings, and I know y'all hear some of us kind of fussing at you, and you're wondering, well, did they even understand what I just said? Well, we have to build the skill to listen. We have to build the skill on how to communicate. That's not something that's going to come from a brick and mortar or saying, hey, let me send you to this class. Most people might not go. Let me tell you this about the people we've served since that time. Since this hub has opened, we have 83 families who've received crisis food assistance. Those same families also receive nutrition education, healthy lifestyle education, disease prevention and intervention education, and health awareness education. We have 16 families that were able to complete applications to seek home repairs, 11 people who received job readiness and employment counseling, 8 who received some type of healthcare screening for diabetes or blood pressure, 9 who've received some type of substance abuse counseling and intervention, 12 families who received affordable housing assistance referrals, 2 people who participated in adult literacy. One of them's getting ready to test to get their GED. Okay? 9 people who've received mental health counseling, over 400 children who were served over the summer with summer lunches. We've had dental referrals that have been made for 3 people, as well as 12 referrals for financial assistance. When you look at our overall numbers of who's been served through the food pantry, who's been served through all of these programs being offered by partners who are in agreement with Abundant Life Community Services, you will find that we have served over 500 families. So this hub is maybe not something that everybody's talking about, but I can tell you it's cutting edge, and I can tell you we did our research, and when you look at other cities who have done this, it works. It works to invest in the people. So consider when you are doing your development planning how the hub can play a role. And remember, circle of hope. Circle of hope. We're all working on it together. That Health and Wellness Center is definitely by all means tied to what we're doing over here at the Resource Hub and how we can really provide wraparound services for families in our community. And I didn't get a time from Commissioner Lee, so I think I did good on staying on my 10 minutes. Am I right?
You did good. You did good. All right. Any questions for Ms. Bosky this evening?
Thank you.
Oh, y'all had mercy on me. Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for all
you.
the information. Thank you. At this time, I doodled off with my paper here. Do we have any new business? Attorney Mosley, staff, any new business? Okay. Well, we need to go into closed session. If I could have that statute, Attorney Mosley, please.
Yes, ma'am. Pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A5 to discuss the acquisition of real property.
Okay. We have a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Thank you.
If we
Thank
could
y'all so much for coming. Have a good evening.
You too.